So Percy is the ultimate green flag. He is a mama's boy through and through, and yeah, I love him, and I love that he appreciates his mother.
Hi demigods, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Sam, and today we're going to be doing a video that I'm so excited to do. I've been wanting to do it for like the past 2 weeks, but I've just had so much university work that I've just been like, anyway, so I'm so excited for this video. And if you don't know, the real main event of this year is about to happen on the 20th of December, which is the Percy Jackson Disney Plus series on the first book, and I'm so freaking excited. I'm so excited. It's so close now. It's literally the 19th of December right now, so it'll be out by the time I post this. But yeah, I'm so excited. Let me know how it is in the comments. But anyway, in today's video we're going to be going a little bit past what we'll see in the adaptation, and we're actually going to look at the sixth book in the Percy Jackson series of the OG ones, and we're going to be looking at the Chalice of the Gods Day, which I have not read yet. I am ashamed to say, I've been too busy, but I'm here and I'm ready to read this, and I'm ready to give you all my thoughts and opinions, and I'm ready to highlight. I literally have like all my colours here. I have like blue for Percy, I have green for Grover, and I have yellow for Annabeth, and then orange for everything else. But yeah, I'm going to highlight this, I'm going to annotate this, and I'm going to take you through my thoughts and opinions on this book. And I'm so excited to finally read it, and I'm so excited for the adaptation. This is like the year for the Percy Jackson fandom. Like, we have been spoiled because we not only have the adaptation, we have this, and then we have obviously all the other books to go look on, and I'm so freaking excited. Anyway, so I do just want to quickly say I have 2 copies of this book because I ordered the signed sprayed edges copy, which has this beautiful design on the edge, and it's signed by Rick himself, Uncle Rick. Right there. That thing. But yeah, we have this edition, but it came with the spine ripped, which I did manage to fix with the bit of glue, but I'd already sent in like a complaint because I pre-ordered this. I was like, hey, it's come with a rip, and they're like, we can just send you another replacement one and you can swap the dust jacket. So that's what I did, and now I have 2 copies. I have a regular one that I'm gonna highlight and annotate, and then have the signed one. But yeah, I just thought, just to brag, you know, I got a hardback Percy Jackson for free, you know. Anyway, but yeah, let's dive straight into this. I'll update you with my first thoughts, but actually first I want to show you this cute little figure that I have. I'm going to take you with me, okay, ready? And then I'm going to point you at the shelves. Okay. So here is my Percy Jackson self, and I just wanted to show you this cute little figure that I have. It's not Percy Jackson related per se, it's like a little Hirono figure that I got in Japan, but he's just so fitting, and like the blue hair, and he's got his little in the water. He's just so cute, and I really wanted to show him off because I think he's freaking adorable. And he's my little Percy in my head. Percy with blue hair. Percy went full out for the blue, and he just sits up there on my shelf. And then there are my New York editions of Percy Jackson with all like the special American sign. We have a little Pompeii thing, which I thought really fit here. And then yeah, anyway, full shelf tour is coming soon, probably in the new year. But yeah, I just wanted to show him because he's adorable. So like, comment and subscribe, and yeah, let's get into the discussion. Woo, I'm so excited. But yeah, let's get into the discussion now.
This thing is going to be at the Lotus Casino in Vegas. Money's hangs out there. You play your cards right, and it's looking. Do you think you're special?
Okay, so I am back, and I have now finished Percy Jackson and the Chalice of the Gods. As you've just seen, it's been a couple of months. It snowed, it's been summer. The first season of the show is aired, it's been done. We have a season 2 announcement. So yeah, a lot has happened in the time that I put this down and forgot about it. But I am back and I've read it. I was going to do a midway check-in, but I'm on a bit of a time crunch here for the next video, so we are just going to dive straight into my non-spoilery thoughts, because I finished this book as of last night. I finished it at 1:30 in the morning. But yeah, let's dive straight into my non-spoilery thoughts of this new edition in the Percy Jackson universe. Okay, so non-spoilery thoughts on the Chalice of the Gods. Now, I will straight away say that I thought this was a really solid entry into the Percy Jackson universe and into Percy's story as a whole, because this book tackles Percy kind of coming to terms with his childhood coming to an end, his kind of relationship with Annabeth and his friendship with Grover all get questioned and kind of developed a bit more. Now they're growing up into older people, and are they the same people as they were when they were 12? I thought the discussion of aging and growing out of adolescence was a really cool discussion in this book, and I can't wait to see it go even further in the next 2 books in this trilogy, I believe. And it makes sense to be a trilogy because he's got to get 3 letters. And as of now, we don't have necessarily a big bad or a big aim, and I kind of like that, because obviously in Percy Jackson we had the Titans, in Heroes of Olympus we had the Earth Goddess, so it's kind of nice to take a step back from these giant world-ending disasters and just focus on kind of more personal and character-driven narratives and quests for this, which is just Percy wanting to get into university and having to do these side missions to get recommendation letters. And I'm sure within the next few books we'll probably get a bigger threat overall. Maybe someone's trying to hold him back from getting into Rome University, or maybe we will just carry on this kind of side questy angle. But either way, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the step back and the lower stakes, because you can't always have the world threat of ending, because then it doesn't matter really. You lose that threat. It's like, oh, the world's going to end again, oh, big deal, Percy will save the day. So I like the step back. I also like the new gods that we saw in here. I won't spoil it right here, but we get a couple of new gods. We do get returning faces, but we get new characters from Greek mythology that we have not seen yet in the Rick Riordan verse, and I thought that was really cool, because you kind of at an aspect where Rick's written so many books, how can he pull out even more new characters? But he does manage to do that, and he even reimagined some of the ones we've seen before, so I thought that was really cool. The world building again is top tier. It's just Rick Riordan at his finest. It's just funny, and he manages to kind of capture this childish take on Greek mythology, which can often be very brutal and tragic, and he puts a childish spin on it, and he brings it to our world and makes it wacky and weird but still makes sense, and I thought that was perfectly captured here again. Now, I will say briefly a little bit of a complaint, but I don't really intend it to be a complaint, it's just something I observed, was in this book we felt very much like Percy had regressed back to his 12-year-old viewpoint, because the kind of humour and the kind of way he thought within this book felt very much similar to how he did when he was 12 in The Lightning Thief and The Sea of Monsters, rather than the kind of more aged up version we saw in Heroes of Olympus. And I personally felt that Percy as a character felt older within Heroes of Olympus, and when I came into this one I was like, oh, has it just been a while since I read Heroes of Olympus, or is this like a more childish take on teenager Percy? Like, he's 17 in this book, but he still talks like a 12-year-old, and the kind of relationship between him and Annabeth is still kind of, oh, I love you so much, you're so perfect. And I was like, could we have maybe a bit of tension, because not everyone feels that way. Even if you are in love, you still have things that kind of annoy you about a person. So I felt like we need a bit more of that going forward within this more adult focused Percy. We need kind of some more nuance to these relationships, not just with Annabeth but with Grover and stuff. I want to see what kind of annoys them about each other. Is there any tension that they have to resolve? Because at the minute it's just very much like, oh, she's perfect, I love her, oh, he's perfect, I love him, oh, we're best friends forever. And I don't know, it just seems a little bit idealistic to continue to go that way into kind of the 11th book in the Percy Jackson series as a whole, not counting Trials of Apollo, just the Heroes of Percy Jackson. So yeah, that's just kind of a little comment I have. It's not a bad thing necessarily. I still thoroughly enjoyed the writing in the story, and I enjoyed Percy in the story, but I would really appreciate if we kind of got a more nuanced perspective of Percy's aging, because this book does very much focus around aging and growing up and accepting the idea that we can't be young forever. And I think that's a very meta commentary as well on Rick, because obviously Rick has a very young fan base that then growed up with the series and now are kind of our age. So he kind of has to cater not only to getting more new generations into his books, but also dealing with the grown up fans. And I thought this was a really good idea to kind of focus on that topic of aging, because his fan base is aging. Anyway, So yeah, surrounding that, the rest of the goods. So new gods were brilliant, the writing style was fun, the world is still enjoyable, Percy and the gang are still really enjoyable, and yeah, I thought the whole story was very nice and very cool, and I would definitely recommend if you are interested in this book. So I think we're going to go into spoilers now. I'm going to talk through the plot, not beat by beat, I'm just going to talk through my thoughts as I went through the part. There's some quotes I want to pick out, so if you don't want spoilers, click off now and come back when you've read it. I would really appreciate that. But yeah, like, comment and subscribe if you're leaving now, but let's get on to spoilers for Chalice of the Gods. Okay, so the first point I want to talk about is the adventure with Hebe. So basically Percy has to figure out who stole Ganymede's chalice. Ganymede is the cupbearer for Zeus, and someone has stolen the chalice of the gods, which basically grants anyone that drinks from it immortality. So it's a very big deal that it's been taken, and it's that kind of that subtle establishing idea that this book is going to tackle age and immortality and what it is to grow up and learn. So we first have to go to Hebe because she is one of the kind of suspects of this theft. Now Hebe is the goddess of youth, again planting that seed of discussing age, and I think Rick did a really good job of bringing in all this Greek mythology surrounding age into one book to kind of make one message. But we go to Hebe and she has like this shop in Times Square, or like this arcade karaoke bar situation, and it's called Hebe Jeebies, which was so funny, but it also helps you because you can go into these books and not know how to say these Greek names. I'm very much like that, so having Rick be able to relate it to a real term like heebie-jeebies goes, oh, so it's Hebe and not Hebby or whatever. So I thought that was really subtle and really brilliant, especially for dyslexic readers like myself. So we go to see Hebe and she's kind of annoying. She kind of hates them for accusing her of stealing the chalice. And she curses them to go back to being 8-year-olds. So we see Percy, Annabeth and Grover all in their 8-year-old kind of selves. Their clothes are hanging off them. Their minds have gone back to thinking like 8-year-olds. And this had me thinking for a moment, like, are we going to be stuck as children for this entire book? Because it felt like very much something Rick would do, as like they have to get back to their original ages. But thank goodness we didn't have to do that, because I don't know, I think that would have got very old very soon. It was really interesting to see them as children again, and kind of Percy's beginning of Percy's anxiety around having to relive his childhood, because obviously Half-Blood life as a child is very dangerous. It's when monsters come to you the most within that kind of 12-year-old to 18-year-old time span, because you're the easiest to kill. So seeing Percy get that anxiety of like, oh no, am I going to be stuck like this? Am I going to have to live through all that again? How are we going to like get out of this? That anxiety in Percy and him being so vulnerable is a continuing factor within this book, and it's so sad to read. I don't want Percy to be this anxious. Like, it's good for the character, it's good for the development of the character, but it's so sad to read Percy, a strong-headed character that we believed was like beyond all this, and he was so strong. We knew he had his vulnerable sides, but he was very capable and very powerful. But now seeing him now getting older and getting that anxiety was so sad and so heartbreaking, and I'm so happy that Rick is able to make him vulnerable again and make him kind of relatable for his aging audience. So yeah, that was a whole kind of section where they get aged back and have to kind of trick but also bargain with Hebe to get them aged back to their normal ages. Now I do think the mindsets we get with them as 8-year-olds could have been a bit more developed. I felt it was very surface level of like, oh no, I don't want to be this age forever. I wish we kind of got some maybe flashbacks to Annabeth and her when she was younger, when she had to leave her dad, or she ran away from home. I would have liked to maybe have her talk about that a little bit more as a child, and maybe this making her remember that, or that making that so much more real. I would have liked to see a bit more from Grover. How does aging down affect the satyr specifically? But it was very kind of just quick pace because they had killer chickens after them, which was very cool and gave me kind of The Boys vibes. There was just recently in The Boys season 4, there was an episode about murder sheep flying around and killing people. So that kind of made me think of that when we got these murder chickens. And Annabeth initially gets her moment to shine straight away within this first kind of segment of the book. Annabeth shines with her chicken plan, and basically Hebe has to be the youngest person in the room for her ego's sake. She has to be the youngest. So Annabeth brings this baby chicken, and because it's a baby, it's automatically younger than Hebe, who is kind of currently an 8-year-old. So Hebe kind of regresses into a baby herself, and they kind of like, we'll let the chick go and you can age back up if you kind of reverse the thing. And I thought it was a brilliant plan, and I kind of didn't see it coming straight away. I was kind of like, yeah, why is I was like in the same shoes as Percy. I was like, why is Annabeth carrying a baby chicken around? But then when it's revealed and Hebe starts to kind of youngen age down, I was like, oh. And I just love that Annabeth is so smart and can kind of think of these plans that the reader doesn't necessarily see straight away, but Annabeth does. And it really shows she's a true daughter of Athena. She is good at these battle tactics, and I just love Annabeth so much. And she gets so many more times to shine within this book, but this was her first, and it was really smart, and I really enjoyed kind of that moment of Annabeth being like, yeah, I figured it out, but still being humble about it and be like, no, you did it as well, Percy. But yeah, that was Annabeth's moment to shine, and that was Heebie-Jeebies. So the next thing that we go into is Iris. So we kind of learned from Hebe that no, she didn't steal the chalice and she's not going to help us much more, but they should go check out Iris now. So they go to a craft market because Iris is now being, I mean, she was already kind of this already, but she's being redefined as like a crystal girly to reflect like TikTok trends of people being obsessed with crystals and the healing powers of crystals. Iris is now a crystal girl, which very much makes sense within the kind of Iris messages, using reflections and rainbows and stuff to message each other. So it made very much sense for her character. And we kind of see a brief kind of interaction between Iris and one of her daughters, Blanche, who has a very kind of relatable kind of self-distancing from her mother. She's kind of like, oh, you're lame, you're all colourful and over the top, so I'm gonna wear all black and kind of only do monochrome photography. And I thought that was very interesting and relatable kind of aspect between the mother and daughter there. And yeah, that was a very interesting start, but basically they bring Blanche, Iris's daughter, with them so that Iris doesn't do the same as Hebe, and kind of attack them straight away for accusing her of stealing the chalice. So they bring Blanche, and Blanche introduces them to Iris and then goes, peace out. And there's a cute moment where Grover is really obsessed with Blanche photography. He wants her to take a photo of him so he can take it back to Juniper, his girlfriend, as kind of a present. And we kind of have a really, just briefly going to go off topic here, but we have a brief kind of subplot of Grover trying to impress Juniper, his girlfriend, but he doesn't quite understand her 100%, and he kind of focuses more on what he wants rather than Juniper, because he's trying to find a present for her kind of, what was it, like rooting ceremony or blossoming ceremony, I can't remember, but he's trying to get her a present, but he's more thinking about himself and what he would want rather than Juniper. And I thought that was a really interesting subplot of kind of, again, relating to aging up and trying to understand people better as you grow up, and getting out of that childish mindset of everything being about you. And the relationship advice Percy gives him was perfect as well, but that's getting ahead of ourselves. So yeah, Blanche pieces out and we get this cute moment of Grover like keep trying to subtly be like, you can take photos of me, and it turns out that Annabeth had made a deal with Blanche to be like, yeah, you can photograph Grover for your photography, and she's like, oh, thank God, he's been playing so hard to get. And Grover's like, huh? I've literally wanted to be in the photograph but all the time. And it was really funny. But yeah, they find Iris in this market, and Iris is like, yeah, I didn't steal the chalice, I don't like that you're accusing me of that, but I will help figure out who it was if you go and clean this staff for me. And we learned that Iris had initially had Hermes' job, where she delivered messages for the gods. So that was kind of interesting to kind of see the gods switching roles, and even Percy picks up on that and is like, I wonder how many times they can do that, or like the kind of regrets they have around switching roles. So I thought that was really interesting. But yeah, she basically gives them this old staff that she had, which was very similar to Hermes' staff, with the kind of twin Martha and I can't remember the other snake's name, but Martha and the other snake on the staff, and it kind of is similar to that, but it is not that. And she's like, hey, go take this to this magical river that can clean anything, and I will go figure out what has happened to the chalice and tell you when you get back. So they are sent off to go and find this river, and when we find it, Percy has his very Nepo baby moment. He was literally an ultimate Nepo baby in this moment, because he meets this river and it kind of obviously comes into kind of a personification of the river. And Percy's like, well, I'm the son of Poseidon, so like I don't know if that's gonna help, but like I'm the son of Poseidon, the sea god, you know him? And I've met like the Hudson and the other river in New York, and he's kind of pulling all these names out and name dropping and be like, yeah, I'm the son of Poseidon, do what I say. And the river is just having no part in this. The river's name is Ellison, and he's like, no, that's not gonna work here. You're not gonna pollute me, because he's like the cleanest river left, and by putting the staff in him, they're gonna pollute the last clean kind of puddle of, or the last clean river of Ellison. And there's also the kind of commentary on Ellison having a man bun, which I thought was really funny. Like his magical man bun that had like water droplets orbiting it was really funny. And I did pick up very much on Rick making fun of everyone in this book. Like Rick in the first TBGB part is very much making fun of boomers, and kind of boomers coming in and ruining the world and then leaving again. And now he's very much making fun of like the millennial man buns, and he's just going for everyone's throat in this book, and I thought it was funny. But yeah, we see Percy kind of be a little bit of a Nepo baby and try and pull the names out of thin air to be like, yeah, I'm Percy Jackson. And Ellison is having none of it, so we now get Percy's badass moment of this book. So very similar to Annabeth, Percy gets his badass moment, and Ellison basically tries to see if he can drown Percy. And he's like, there is one thing I want to figure out, is how long it takes a son of Poseidon to drown, which was very cool and very like ominous, like trying to drown the son of a sea god. But Percy has his badass moment, and he rages, and he brings all this other water and all these recesses of Ellison's river that had been like underground, and he pulls them up, and they burst out of the ground, and they wash everything within this grungy cave that had housed the cleanest river, which is kind of interesting, kind of oxymoron there. But he pulls it all out, the water explodes everywhere, pushes Ellison back, the whole cave is now clean now, and then it's kind of like Ellison starts crying to Annabeth, and Percy's like, wait, what's just happened? Why is he crying? Do I not have to beat him up? And Ellison is just crying to Annabeth like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for killing Percy. And then Annabeth's like, here, have some of this nice tea. It's a lot better for you. And he's like, yeah, sure. And he's got that really millennial hippie moment there. And I thought it was brilliant. And Percy just kind of stood there like, oh, so I just did all this and Annabeth's gonna steal my thunder again. But yeah, that was perfect. And I love that kind of relationship. But I will say, within the whole book, Annabeth gets some moments of badassery, Percy gets some moments of badassery, but Grover, he has the subplot with Juniper, and that kind of like was very interesting. But in terms of badass moments, Grover doesn't really get anything, so it's not really the golden trio at the moment, it's the golden duo, because Grover is constantly just used as bait. And I hope this kind of comes up in the next book, where it's like Grover's like, no, I don't want to be bait this time, I want to actually play an active role. And I know he's the Satyr, he's supposed to be like a protective figure for the demigods, but if we're going to have a trio, it needs to be like equal, because both with Hebe, Grover has to lead the killer chickens way, and now within Ellison's cave, Grover has to lead all these serpents away with his song. And I'm just like, can we give Grover something else to do rather than just lead monsters away? Can we like give him an active role in defeating the bad guy rather than just being like this side character? I felt very bad for Grover as a character, and I really hope in the next couple of books he gets his badass moment. But yeah, we kind of defeat Ellison, he kind of, I really wanted to point this out, because it's not really a thing at the moment, but it was when I first started filming this, was the debate around who is better, Percy or Harry Potter, and like who would win in a fight. Obviously it's going to be freaking Percy. He can create hurricanes and defeat titans. Harry can't even defeat one bold wizard for 7 books. But I thought it was very interesting again that it demonstrates that Percy and Annabeth and Grover change their world for the better. They try and change systemic issues, because we see Ellison had discriminated against half-bloods. He was like, no half-blood is ever going to use this clean water. You're never going to use it. It's just for furies and snakes. Demigods are never allowed. And by the end of their kind of fight / cleanup of his river, he's like, okay, maybe I could kind of reconsider my biases, and demigods can use it every other Saturday, and you can come clean your ancient artifacts. So again, it shows that Percy and Annabeth are actively making the world around them a better place for everyone, rather than like Harry Potter, who, yeah, sure, defeated an evil wizard, but like he didn't really change the world. He just kept the status quo, and even became an aura, which is just like a police officer, which kind of again just symbolizes him upholding the status quo rather than changing the world for the better. Like, I don't mean to like go in on Harry Potter here, but like Percy is just so much better, and there's no kind of debate here. Percy is better. But yeah, I just thought it was really kind of a moment to be like, yeah, stop this whole debate about Percy and Harry, because it's just not a debate. Percy is better. So then we go back to Iris, and Iris is like, okay, thanks for cleaning my stuff, and then she just buries it in her crystals again. And it's kind of like, well, what's the point then? Which kind of is funny, because it kind of points out the pointlessness of these quests from the gods. But Iris kind of nearly forgets to tell us any information. She goes, oh yeah, I was going to tell you. And she sends them to find a guy called Gary. Well, she doesn't send them to find. She's kind of like, don't go, you're just going to die, but if you need the information, it's Gary. And we find out all these nymphs and these spirits are leaving Washington Square Park because some guy called Gary, which is just so funny, some guy called Gary is scaring them all off. And yeah, they're like, oh, Corpus, we're gonna go finish our quest. We're gonna go find who this Gary is. And I thought it was very interesting as well that Rick kind of predicts what the audience is gonna do, where we kind of go, Gary, and we kind of try and link the name Gary to a Greek name and try and figure out who he is. And Rick has Percy and Annabeth do this within the book. So I thought that was very interesting, kind of like jab at the audience there, is like mocking us. Well, not mocking us, but like pointing at things that we would do, which is trying to associate names with Greek names, try and figure out who it is. But that was really cool. And I just like that the guy was called Gary. He's just like, yeah, there's a guy called Gary. So when we get to Washington Square Park and we try and find Gary, we find out that he is actually, well, I can't remember the Greek name actually, which is kind of funny, but I can't remember what his Greek name was. But Gary is basically the god of old age, so kind of the opposite of Hebe. And he is basically angry about the Chalice of the Gods granting immortality. He thinks this is a cheat in like humanity. People should age and people should wither away and turn to dust. He doesn't believe in immortality, so he stole the chalice to kind of prove a point to the gods and be like, stop turning people immortal, because the whole thing with Ganymede was Zeus kind of kidnapped him basically, which was awful, and I'm glad that that was recognized by Percy and the characters here. It was like, what happened to Ganymede was awful, but basically Zeus saw Ganymede as like a really cute guy, and he was literally like a teenager at the time, and he brings Ganymede up to Olympus and makes him immortal and makes him his cupbearer forever. And Ganymede faces like really bad mental health surrounding this. Like, he's very anxious, he feels very like uncomfortable in his position, and we obviously, I'm going ahead of myself, but yeah, that's what happened to Ganymede. And I like that then that pitted Gary and Ganymede against each other in kind of Percy's, I'm not wording this very well, but basically Rick makes it so that you can see both sides. You can see Gary's side as like, oh yeah, people should age, immortality is a curse, immortality shouldn't be a thing. But then Ganymede is a victim of immortality. He didn't choose to be immortal, he was kidnapped. So surely punishing him just for being immortal is not fair, because it wasn't his decision. And I really liked how Rick made that kind of discussion where you can argue on both sides for both people. That Percy was really torn on what to do, because there was a moment where Percy was like, oh, maybe Gary's right, maybe we should just do what Gary thinks. And then he's like, wait, no, Ganymede is a victim here. Ganymede shouldn't be punished for being immortal when he didn't even choose to be immortal. So I really like that kind of debate there. And Gary is like, we shall wrestle. And it was so out of the blue. It was like, so how are we going to deal with this? And he's like, we're going to wrestle. And Percy's like, oh, I don't really want to wrestle you, because Gary is basically this really old man in a loincloth, and he's very shriveled up and old, and he's just wearing the loincloth. And Percy's like, I don't want to wrestle you. And I thought that was brilliant, very funny. And they start to wrestle. Annabeth and Grover are kind of useless here. Well, not useless, they're kind of sidelined because they can't interfere here. And yeah, they start wrestling. Percy is really struggling, but we do get an acknowledgement that he's doing a lot better than anyone else would have done. The only person who's fought old age, which is basically what Gary is, he's old age, was Hercules. So Percy being kind of again kind of related to Hercules, one of the strongest heroes, was just validating to get Percy be recognised as being as strong as he really is, and I really like that. But Percy comes to the realisation within this fight that you can't battle old age, and this whole anxiety that he's been having throughout the book of like growing old and moving away from his home, moving away from his mum to college to be with Annabeth, leaving Grover behind because Grover's staying at Camp Half-Blood, and just growing up, he kind of plays with all this in his head, and he kind of comes to terms with like, no, it's okay to age, it's okay to be older and grow up, and like he's done his childhood now, he's survived it, he's gotten past the monsters and the villains and the gods, and he has a right to grow old. And we kind of see him just being like, no, actually I do want to grow old, I want to be with Annabeth, I want us both to get old and wrinkly together and be happy and have kids and just be in love forever. And again, that kind of plays in the idealistic relationship that I kind of want a bit more nuance on there. But as a whole, I thought it was really brilliant to see Percy kind of tackle these ideas of age and growing old. And ultimately he decides that you can't fight old age, so he hugs Gary, and Gary is like taken aback. He's never been hugged like this before, and it's so sweet. It's such a sweet scene, and Gary's like, I've not been hugged like this like ever, or like for ages. And Percy's like, it's okay, I understand we all have to age, you're right, but you can't take it out on Ganymede, it wasn't his choice. And they kind of come to an agreement there. I thought that was really sweet, that was brilliant. And there is a particular quote I want to pull out right now which discusses the idea of immortality in a more nuanced way. Okay, so they are talking about immortality being a curse, and there's a whole section here that talks about the gods being immortal, and it says, but that was exactly why Gerace had stolen the chalice. It let you cheat the system. And he wasn't wrong about immortality being a curse. The gods were the most messed up people I'd ever met. They'd had centuries to work out their problems. They just didn't. Sure, they had changed their clothes and modernised their lifestyles once in a while, but at heart they were still exactly who they'd been back in the Bronze Age. That was such a brilliant like paragraph. That was so amazing. I love that idea, because, and I even wrote like a whole paragraph next to that quote of just like going into it and be like, oh my god, because I think that's such a good idea of like these figures of kind of these emboldened figures of grace and power not being able to kind of adapt and kind of battling old age by being immortal. I'm not going to go into it too much because I feel like I could go on forever, but I just really loved that discussion of immortality being a curse, but the gods not seeing it and it playing against them because they feel like they are so powerful, but really they are pathetic because they don't change, they don't grow, they don't have the same kind of life as humans do. Humans grow and they learn and they adapt, whereas the gods have stayed the same since the Bronze Age. They are so backwards and behind on the things, but they don't see it because they chose to fight old age with immortality. I just thought it was so brilliant, and as a literature student, that really got to me. I loved that whole paragraph. It was brilliant. I loved it. So this whole section of Gary, I really enjoyed kind of it wasn't like a straight up fight where we have to fight him. It's more of like we have to just accept old age, and it was just so brilliant. So yeah, Gary's like, yeah, cool, I will give you the chalice back, just don't drink from it, Percy. And the whole thing was like, Gary had been impressed that Percy didn't take the immortality at the end of the original series, so I like that played up again, because it was a very big decision for Percy. So yeah, I thought that was brilliant that we embraced old age here instead of fighting it, and yeah, it was really brilliant. And we also learned that his mum, Sally Jackson Blowfist, is pregnant, and I kind of saw it immediately. As soon as she was drinking the sparkling water, I was like, okay, she's pregnant. And then she tells Percy, and he's like, oh my god, I'm so happy for you, this is so amazing. And oh my god, it was such a sweet moment of him, Annabeth, Sally and Paul all around the table, and Sally's pregnant, and Percy's gonna be a big brother again. And that was one thing. Percy kind of forgot he was already a brother. Like, we have Tyson. You're brothers with Tyson. Like, I know he's your step brother. But like you're still a brother, Percy. Don't forget you've already been a big brother. But like, okay. But yeah, Percy's like, I'm gonna be a big brother to a baby child, and I'm not gonna be here because I'm gonna be at college. And Sally's like, no, I want you. I need you to fulfill your life and not stay behind for my sake. And you can come visit, but like, don't ruin your future plans for a child or whatever. And I just thought that was so brilliant. I'm so happy for Sally and Paul. They are the ultimate endgame couple in this. I'm so happy that after all the years of suffering Smelly Gabe, that Sally finally gets her happy ending. And yeah, she was like used by gods. She was used by Gabe, or I guess she used Gabe, but yeah, he was horrible. But yeah, I'm just so happy Sally has a happy life now, and she has her husband and a child, and it's just brilliant, and I love it. And she has Percy and Annabeth as well, and it's so good. It's so good. And Percy is such a mama's boy, but we'll get to that in a moment. But I just love that Percy is the ultimate mama's boy here. So the final section of this book I was not expecting at all. Like, it could have very much ended with Gary being kind of accepted and defeated, but Rick kind of adds on this kind of bonus kind of errand of like going to Zeus's dinner party, because Zeus, this whole time we've been trying to get the chalice back to Ganymede before Zeus did any kind of like party and realized that Ganymede didn't have the chalice anymore, and Zeus, being the asshole he is, had called a brunch with his mum Rhea, who I definitely want to see more of. There's like, she's like the goddess of gods or the titan of gods or whatever. And I really want to see more of Rhea and her lion, because she has just like a lion at her feet all the time, which is really cool. I really want to see more of her, but he's invited her around to a brunch, and we get again Percy attacking the idea of brunch and brunch being stupid. But basically Ganymede is trapped, and Percy has to bring the chalice to him to complete the quest and hand it over to Ganymede, but Ganymede can't go and get it because Zeus is being the predator he is, and is like gripping Ganymede's hand and being like, no, you will stay here and listen to my stories. And Percy has to sneak into Olympus, and then he's like, Ganymede, come over here, and Ganymede can't because Zeus has his hand on his wrist. I hate Zeus, he's such a predator. So Percy has to do the cliche of like hiding under the food trolley that gets pushed out, and they even acknowledge that it's cliche, and I thought it was really funny. It was like, oh, that's very cliche of you, and he's like, I know, but I had to do it. And he tries to get it over to Ganymede within this trolley. He has like a nymph who adorably is like, I will help you if you set me up to get a meeting with Annabeth Chase. Like, I really want to meet Annabeth Chase. And like all the nymphs have like a love for Annabeth, which I think is brilliant and makes sense since Annabeth did like the whole redesign of Olympus in the original series. So of course she's going to be like a famous person for them. So Percy's like, oh my god, my girlfriend is like famous up here. But he's like, yeah, I'll set it up for you. And the nymph tries to push the trolley across, but obviously it gets stopped because Zeus is like, how dare you interrupt my story with your noise, peasant. And she's like, oh, sorry. So Percy is kind of like stuck halfway. He locks eyes with Rhea's lion. It's like, oh shit. But then Athena looks down to look at the roaring tiger, because Athena has like, she's like, cute kitty. Of course Athena thinks a lion is a cute kitty, and she locks eyes with Percy, and it was like, oh shit moment. It's like, is she gonna snitch? But she doesn't. Athena kind of prompts Ganymede to be like, oh, go take that trolley back to the kitchen, will you? And she kind of helps Percy, and it's this whole, we later find that Annabeth sees this as Athena accepting her relationship with Percy, and I thought that was such a good freaking moment. Like, Rick is hitting it out the park here, and seeing Athena, who we've constantly seen being petulant and annoying in the previous books and never really accepting Annabeth's decision to be with Percy, now helping Percy just on a whim and not wanting anything for it. She just helps him without needing anything in return. I just thought, what brilliant progression for Athena and Annabeth as well in their relationship. Brilliant. So cool. Ganymede takes the trolley back into the kitchen. Zeus is like, don't be too long. Oh, I love watching him walk away. And it's like, shut up, Zeus. No one likes you. But yeah, he gets the cup back and he gives Percy a blank page. And basically it's just like, hey, here's your letter. Say whatever you want and my signature will appear at the bottom when you're done. And Percy's like, oh great, I did all of this for a blank piece of paper. And that's just the most godly thing ever. Like, that just made so much sense. So yeah, that is the end of the story. Ganymede gets his cup back and goes back to helping Zeus. I really hope that by the end of the trilogy, Percy does another kind of similar deal to like he did in the original trilogy, where he's like recognized his children. I really hope something comes of like, stop treating Ganymede that way, or like, I'm sure we're going to see other kind of minor gods who are mistreated by the bigger gods, and I really hope kind of Percy does kind of a similar deal of like, hey, recognize each other with respect, like treat people with respect, leave Ganymede alone, treat Hebe and Iris properly or whatever. So I hope we get kind of some more resolution with Ganymede, because at the moment he's kind of just gone back to being a victim of Zeus and Zeus's overpowering creepiness. So I hope we come back to that. But the quest is done. We go back home. Percy is with Sally, Paul and Annabeth, and they all help write the letter whilst making fun of him, which is really cute. Then we see Percy is like rushing to school because he's late and he doesn't want to get kicked out and not be able to go to college. So he manages to get to school, and as he gets there, he's trying to think of an excuse for why he missed the first 2 periods of school. The receptionist is like, oh yeah, your dad's ringing forward, and initially I was thinking, oh, it's Paul, but then Percy's like, Paul wouldn't know I was going to be late, and then it turns out to be Poseidon on the phone, and Poseidon's like chatting up the receptionist, and I'm like, oh, Percy, you're probably going to have another brother soon. But yeah, Poseidon is on the phone, and he's like, tells Percy he's been watching out for him, and this is the least he could do. And it was such sweet, like I said, seeing that one-on-one interaction between children and the gods is just always so satisfying and so fulfilling to see, and that's why Blood of Olympus really annoyed me. But yeah, we see Poseidon and Percy talk, and it's brilliant, and I always love their interactions and kind of that distant relationship, but you can kind of tell they both want it to be less distant. And just like hearing Poseidon say how proud he is of Percy, and the kind of selflessness of Percy's actions within this quest specifically, it's just so, my heart is brilliant. And there's a quote I want to read out from him about small waves. Okay, so this is Poseidon talking about kind of creating change, and he says, he says, sometimes it's the smallest waves that knock you off your feet. Tsunamis, everyone knows they're powerful. Tidal waves, big and impressive, but those small waves, they hold a lot of power. They prove that the ocean is capable of, even when no one is paying attention. They prove what the ocean is capable of, even when no one is paying attention. Rick is really pulling it out of the hat with these brilliant like sections. Like, I just love so many paragraphs in this book. It's just so brilliant. But the idea of like the small waves being what are important, and like reflecting on this being a smaller quest necessarily, because it's not end of the world dire situation. It's just Percy doing good things, trying to get into university. And it's just, Rick, keep giving us these brilliant paragraphs, please. I love them so much. But I just wanted to pull it out. So then Percy goes home, takes the letter home. They all help him write it as they make fun of him, and we see another quote that I want to read out where Percy is just the ultimate mama's boy. So it says, I may have blushed. Oh, basically Paul says, yeah, you did a good job, and he sees where he gets that from, inferring that it's Sally who he gets like his selflessness from. And Percy goes, I may have blushed. It's one thing to be called the son of Poseidon. Getting noticed for being anything like my mum, though, that's a compliment. Oh, I love it so much. Like, the appreciation that Sally gets for being... Sally is such a strong character. She sacrificed so much to make sure Percy survived his childhood and was as safe as he could be. And then when he did start going on quests, she was nothing but supportive. She even showed up at the Battle of Manhattan and fought literal monsters that she couldn't even fully see as a mortal. She couldn't even see them, but she showed up in this gigantic battle against thousands of monsters just to give Percy some time to try and put things right and save the world, and just get the recognition that she deserves. It's just so heartwarming and amazing to see. And Percy is the ultimate green flag. He is a mama's boy through and through. And yeah, I love him, and I love that he appreciates his mother more than being compared to a god. Like, basically he's like, yeah, you can tell me I'm like my dad all you want, but like, tell me I'm like my mum and like I'll be proud. And I'm like, it just hits home so much. Like, I love the mother and son relationships in anything. Like, it's just brilliant. And Percy, I just love how much Percy respects his mother, and it's just, I love it so much. But yeah, that was the last bit I wanted to read out. But basically, we don't really get any hints of what's going to happen in the next book other than Percy needs another letter. So I'm very interested to see where that goes. It's called like The Wrath of the Gods or something like that. I have it on pre-order. I'm very excited. So I guess I'll see you when we talk about that. But that is it for this book. And yeah, I don't know how long this is, but I hope that my love for this book really showed off. Obviously, I had my issues, which were mainly just kind of the writing style was a bit regressive into his younger self rather than seeing an older Percy, and the Grover thing. And there was another bit about Grover, quickly. When Percy comes back down from Olympus after giving Ganymede the thing, Grover is waiting for him after causing like a distraction so he could sneak into Olympus. Grover is waiting for him, and Grover has a really off line where he's like, I've never been as scared as I was now, other than the Sea of Monsters when my life was in danger. I've never been as scared as I was, so this was like the second most scariest thing. And I'm like, that didn't really like hit home for me, because I was like, it doesn't really make sense, because Grover has been through so much, and like he's literally been in the Battle of Manhattan, he's fought Gaia, he's seen like Pan die. So to have just Percy going up to Olympus and just giving a cup to someone being a scary moment for him was kind of like, it didn't really track for me. Like, it didn't really have the same impact that I think Rick was trying to have. And Rick kind of related it to Grover being insecure that Percy and Annabeth are going off to New Rome and leaving him behind, and him being scared of the friendship ending. So I understand maybe that would prompt kind of like an overreaction in that sense, and needing that reassurance that Percy and Annabeth aren't going to leave him. But as like just taking it as face value, Grover talking about never being scared like that before, I'm like, that doesn't really track for me personally. I didn't really see that as a scary moment for Grover, but you do you, I guess. But yeah, overall, that's my thoughts on the books. My only issues were like Grover needed a bit more kind of badass moments like the other two, and the writing was a little bit regressive in terms of like the younger Percy taking over the supposedly older Percy. But other than that, everything about this was brilliant. I absolutely can't wait for the Wrath of Gods, if that's what it's called. I'm probably butchering that. It's the Wrath of something. But yeah, I can't wait for the next book. I can't wait to discuss it with you. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave all your thoughts, leave all your ideas down in the comments below. I'd love to hear all your thoughts and talk to you about this book. It was brilliant. I love Percy Jackson so much. Thanks for watching this video all the way through. If you did, or if you come back and finish watching it, thank you so much for coming back. But yeah, leave a like, comment and subscribe. It means so much. Share this video with your friends if you think it's any good. But yeah, I'll see you in the next video. It's going to be somewhere in Asia. I'm going to go on my own little quest. And why am I still holding this up? I'm going to be going somewhere in Asia on my own little quest. I won't spoil it, but you'll see in the next video. So yeah, thanks again for watching. Yeah, I can't wait. See you in the next video. Bye!